Hi guys, we're the Tattooed Teachers.
In bed.
Slow your role play, it's not what you think.
We're here to use our many years of educational experience to provide tips and advice to all stakeholders in the educational process.
That may have been what you were thinking, so stay tuned.
See you in a minute.
Today our topic's going to be new kids. If you're the new kid, we have some helpful hints for you. If you're in a school where new kids come, we also have some helpful hints for you. One of the first things that you can do as an administrator or a school counselor or a teacher would be to create a small group of students that are the welcoming committee. And you do have to hand pick these students based on their outgoingness. I'm not sure what the word is for that. What is it? Their ability to make people feel warm and welcoming, and just that they can talk to students who may be shy and withdrawn and scared for that first day.
I'm going to talk to administrators real quick because that's the last thing that I did, and then we'll go back from there. Principals, assistant principals, if there's a dean of students, someone there that may not necessarily be certified in administration but is helping the office, please use your time to connect with your students. I know that you do not have a lot of downtime during the school day where you're just sitting around watching YouTube videos, but at lunch, class exchanges, any sort of breaks that you have an opportunity where you can connect with your students on a one-on-one or even a 1 to maybe 3 or 4 ratio with students, please take advantage of that. Please create a relationship with your students. I can't tell you how much that will help you in other situations, but what we're talking about today, the way it's going to help is when you learn your students and when you learn their personalities, and I'm not talking about where you have to necessarily know everyone's name, because I know some of you are working in schools that have 1,000 or more students in it. But the students with the biggest personalities are going to stand out. Those students may engage you before you ever engage them. Network with these kids. This is an opportunity for both sides to learn from each other and to teach each other. Cultivate those relationships with those students that will be able to help you cultivate relationships with your new kids. We live in a district that's growing wildly. A lot of construction, a lot of new families moving in here. And it's stressing the infrastructure, because even though some of our buildings here that house a couple of our schools particularly are not very old, we've already pretty much reached max on those. And so we still have to teach them, though. We still have to find a desk to put them in. So sometimes when you have the kind of growth like we're experiencing, new kids have a tendency to fall through the cracks, and you do not want that to happen. You don't want it to happen from a ethical or educational standpoint, but you also don't want to have it happen from a psychological standpoint, because the experiences that those kids are having right now, of course, will stay with them forever, as we all know.
And that brings us to school counselors and teachers. School counselors, I know how busy you are because I was a school counselor, and it's hard to look up and see that, you know, 5th new student of the day coming in, and you're having to figure out a schedule and, you know, making sure they have their transcript with them. I mean, I was high school, so that's where I was coming from, and trying to get that schedule right so that they can graduate on time and everything. And I totally understand that. But when you look up from your work and you see that new student, they're just scared to death. So just try to remember and give it a little bit of humanness, which, you know, I'm going to go with my faults again, but, you know, sometimes I had a little problem with that because I was right in the middle of something, some other thing that was really important that I really needed to get done too. But beside that, teachers, one of the biggest things that you can do is in that class period where that new student is coming in, make sure you assign them a little buddy that can get them to their next class. Yep. They're just lost in the halls, and, you know, it takes just a quick minute to say, where are you going next? and who's going to that same place. Okay, well, you make sure they get there. That just helps so much, just to create one little area where they know they can follow that person and get to their next class. Don't you know, and everything will be great. And I know teachers, another thing is, it's really hard to see that 30-second child come into your room. I mean, I understand that too, but there's got to be a schedule for that child. And, you know, we do have to teach them. So if you can just fake it for...
And I'm not meaning to dogpile parents, but teachers, sometimes we have parents who just come and drop their kids off. They've moved in, they walk in at 9 o'clock in the morning and basically hand you the keys and say, here you go, he's yours for the next several hours, handle that, and they turn around and walk out. And you know, at that point, the clock on that kid has started, and we've got to get that child in a desk with a textbook or a notebook or a pen, pencil, something, and get started getting them caught up and see where they are. So, you know, again, I'm not throwing a rock at a parent. I'm just saying those are the situations we find ourselves with sometimes. The transition times typically, and Rebecca can probably respond to this or knows this better than I do. Of course, summertime, you know, you're going to get a lot of new kids in because there are a lot of changes. Parents will wait until summer to make career moves or to make physical moves based on career decisions.
And that's the smartest thing to do.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes with the job, that's impossible to do. But the best time to move is summer school.
Yeah, if you can get away with that, that's fine.
Right.
Midterm, sometimes people say the beginning of the year is that time to make that change. But family emergencies, things come up where older adult children have to move back home to help with elderly or ill. And that, of course, that can happen anytime, and you just deal with it. You know, that's just what that is. Which is why it's important to go ahead and have some automatic responses in place. And the first one, as Rebecca mentioned, was having you a crew of kids that are already ready, in place for when that new student shows up. Activate, turn them loose. You know, you find that little welcome wagon group of kids and you say, hey, this is who we got, this is a kid's name, here's the situation, here's where they're from. Make sure they have everything they need. Befriend them, you know, make sure they understand where the cafeteria is, the library is, the restrooms, all that business. And you have kids on campus, I promise you, you have kids on campus who would give a finger to be part of a group like that, because they have so much they want to give, and maybe it's not being fulfilled somewhere else, and they have an opportunity to be involved. And you have kids who aren't involved in other things, and they need to be part of this, because both sides, this is literally the win-win. This is both parties are going to get something out of this.
Right, and in my job, a lot of times I would think I was too busy to create some group or to do, but now that I've had time to retire, I can look back and see, you know, how wonderful it would be. A lot of times, I mean, just my own personal, one of my fails would be, I would have a new student, I would be showing them around the building, I would see a kid in the hall that was doing something else, and I would say, hey, come here, come help me. And, you know, that kid might have been best for the job or may not have been. It just depends. I just saw a victim.
Right.
Not really a victim, but, you know, a student that was out and about.
Innocent bystander.
And I'd be, hey, come here, help me. Let me introduce you and take this kid to where they're going.
And the time that you think you don't have to create
right.
is the time that it's so much time it's going to save you later, because guess what?
Exactly.
You're going to get more new kids.
That's right. That's a constant.
That's
and
never
they're always
going
to come when you're busy. You know, that's what I found out too. They're always going to come when you're busy because you're always busy.
Yeah.
So they're always going to be there when you're busy. So just have that little group of people, and make sure it's a varied group. You know, nothing worse than trying to call 10 kids down and they're all gone on the same field trip. You know, just try to vary the group, different personalities, different skill sets, you know, that you'll always have somebody there to call on.
If you have a student council
That's a good
in your
place to
school,
start.
some sort of student government organization, that probably needs to be part of their duties or goals as being part of the organization, to work as ambassadors for your school. Your Beta Club, your Honor Society, whatever you call it in your district, those are the sort of students that hopefully are already wanting to be part of that, and they have the maturity to handle that. And you already know, you're already picturing, as you're listening to this, you're already picturing some of the kids in your school like, you know what, she would be great at that. And
if you're not sure, just consult some other teachers and some
Exactly.
other, administrators.
Yeah.
Hey, look at my list. Do you think, is there anybody on here that should or should not be, on this list?
Right.
Help me come up with some names. God, your teachers are the best at that. They know those kids. They see them every single day.
Yep.
So get a teacher that you trust and get them to help you create, a list of all the different grades in your school. Make sure it's not just one grade. All the different grades in your school.
and try to make it where it's homogeneous in that it's alike. You want, if that new kid comes in and you throw a few faces in front of them, let's try to make it faces that they're going to be seeing regularly anyhow. You don't necessarily want freshmen to be introducing a junior.
Well, exactly.
Let's try to keep it on the same level and get this routine down, and explain to your kids that are going to be helping you with this that they don't have to be their best friend. They don't even have to like
Exactly.
these kids,
That's
because they may not.
Right.
They may get to know these kids and it turns out
They don't have anything in
they
common.
have nothing in common. There just might be too many differences. The idea is just to get them started, to get them acclimated, and
You don't have to have things in common with somebody to
No.
be nice to them at school.
Right.
You're only seeing them for a limited amount of time.
Right.
You don't have to be their best friend.
Yeah.
You just have to be nice to them at school and show them around and help them out.
This isn't a dating app. We're
Right.
we're just getting them in, getting their feet on the floor and in the right direction, and getting their school GPS lined up, and then you turn them loose and you're ready to go. That is great for the kids that are on campus who want to help, who need to be involved. Now, for you new kids, for those of you that are walking into the school for the first time, in my experience, we had a couple, well, I'm going to go ahead and say 3 distinct personalities. The first one was that wallflower, that kid that didn't want to be seen. They wanted to be invisible because they wanted to kind of sit back and watch and kind of see where they fit in and make their choices.
Or that's what they outwardly projected.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be so sure that wasn't something a front that they were putting on.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah, and I didn't have the time to go in
right,
and do a
right,
psychological evaluation, and I wasn't going to do that. I'm not. That's not my skill set. So that's what I had there. Then you just kind of had that. Let's just go ahead and call him Average Joe. That kid that came in, and maybe they came from a family that moved around a lot. This was no big deal. Hey, I'm just here for the fun. Let's get this party started, and they just fall right in and go. You do have some of those.
Sure do.
Then you had the third one.
They always awed me because I thought, gosh, how can they do that? 'Cause
Military
that would have been
kids.
hard for me to do.
Military kids were great at that because this was no biggie for them, because they kind of knew coming in that they probably weren't going to be here long anyhow.
They might as well have fun while
Might as well have fun while they were
there.
there. Then the third one is the one that probably creates the most ripples from the first minute they walk in, and that's that kid that walks in and has to put on the act. The kid that walks in with a chip on their shoulder. We've all seen enough prison movies and heard these jokes about, hey, if you go to jail, if you go to prison, you go up and you find the biggest, baddest dude there, and you just punch them right in the face and let them know that you're not intimidated. Kids are like that too. Some kids, through their fear, cope with that fear by trying to be the angriest, meanest, the baddest person on the campus, and all that is just a coping mechanism to say, you better not mess with me, because it'll be bad for you. When that's probably not true, but you don't want to find out. And so that kid, in a way to cope with their fear, pushes people away.
Right.
Including teachers, and in some cases including administrators. Right. Administrators, they don't want a headache. They're trying to deal with their day. Hey kid, you want to be bad or whatever? Fine, be bad. Enjoy your life and move on with it. that's the kid that you need to pay special attention to, because that temporary coping mechanism can turn into a permanent personality issue. Some kids see that and they'll never change their mind, and that old maxim about first impressions, it sticks. So make a special effort for that kid that walks in with a chip on their shoulder. Make sure they understand that your school is safe. They're safe, they're secure, there are people there who care about them. Let's go ahead and try to dissolve that just as quickly as we can, because you probably have some guy on campus who likes that challenge. Oh, you're big and bad? Let's find out. And now you've introduced a situation where not only do you have a problem with a new kid who's having to cope with this fear
Right.
and the unknown, and then you have another kid that's going to create a situation where now you have a fight that you're going to have to deal with, and you have suspensions, and you have
Right.
issues
And
that
that's
are,
not just guys. You say guys, but that can be girls.
oh, absolutely. Ooh,
don't
don't get me started on interpersonal issues with girls. Holy crap, that's a whole different video there.
Okay, now you're sounding a little mean.
I'm sounding like someone that
Truthful.
I'm sounding like someone that has experience. So, administrators, please take time out of lunch to go by and visit your kids. Sit down at the table with them. A lot
He was famous for that.
I was famous for
I
that.
didn't do that much, but he would come home and tell me different things that he talked about with kids at the lunch table, and I would be like, gosh, that's just such a good idea, but I never took the time to do it.
I have students now who have reconnected with me on Facebook or Instagram or
Right.
whatever, who will remind me, do you remember, the day that you sat down with us at the lunch table, or you stole French fries from me?
Yeah,
that was my
now, I
trick.
was going to talk about that, but don't steal French fries from kids. But he
Do
did it all the
They
time.
love it. They and I'm not saying you need to be stealing food from kids. You don't want to leave a kid hungry. But I had this little thing that I did year after year, where I'd go up to a table of kids, and they would acknowledge my presence, and I would lean down to some kid, I'd tap them on their left shoulder, and when they would turn that direction, I would reach around them and I'd steal a French fry or a grape.
He did that to his own child.
I did
and
that
her
to
friends
everybody
forever.
and they still remember that. And I'd say, hey, I think that girl over is talking about you. And I'd get the fry, and when they would turn to look, I'd say, oh, my mistake, and I'd walk off. And of course, every other kid at the table had seen it and thought it was so funny, and the kid, got my, but they loved that attention. Upper elementary and junior high kids especially, know your audience, administrators. Know the psychology of the kids that you have on your campus, and I'm telling you, you get to know how a kid is going to react, or how a group of kids is going to react. You can use that to your advantage, build and strengthen those relationships, and there isn't anything that those kids won't do for you.
And it has to do with personality too. I just don't feel like I could have stolen a French fry from the kids and they would have thought that was funny. I don't know, but with him, they loved it. I'm not sure. It was
Is that
just
a
the
fat
different
joke?
personalities. Well, maybe.
I think I felt a little zing there.
No, I'm saying you were always jovial, and you tried to make jokes, and you were funny, and my personality isn't like that except with you. It's
Yeah.
not like that with kids.
Well, it's if that's not you, then
Right,
it's not you.
right.
But find someone on your
right.
staff that can do that. If it can't be you, that's fine. If you're not comfortable with that, find an assistant principal, a counselor, a curriculum coordinator, a teacher. Find somebody on your staff that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids need to be able to put a face and personality, because your school has a personality. Whether you believe, it's not just a brick and steel building. That
Right.
school has a personality, and people feel it when they step on
Right.
that campus. Your school puts off a vibe, and that vibe is based on top-down mentality. You create that vibe, even if you're not the one that's interacting like I'm discussing. Your school has a vibe, and you're in charge of it. And I've been on some campuses that did not have a good vibe. I'm talking about, creepy. It felt weird. It did not feel inviting, and you need to turn that around if you have that situation. Warm, friendly, those kids need to feel at ease when they step foot on that campus. They need to know they're in a safe place
You're
where
always
people
really
care about
good
them.
at making people feel at ease. And the one last thing on that
Not all of
topic
them.
was, you know, I don't know, how many years did you steal French fries, would you say?
I've been
you do
eating.
that?
I've been eating for over 50 years. So I've been stealing French fries for over 50 years.
I mean in a school setting like where you did that so that the kids would, you know, so
Well,
you
I was
could
an
make
administrator
them
for 15 years, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah, something like
so
that.
not once did he ever get on the talk or anything like that about, you know, but if I had done that, it would have been like, this school counselor stole a French fry from a kid. Do you think that school counselor should have been fired
Yes!
for taking a child's
Yes!
food? And it would have been, yes, oh my God, hanger. You know, that's what it would have been for me because my personality is so much different than him. So what I'm telling you is, like he said, know your audience, know what you can do. He did that for 15 years. The kids loved it. Parents loved it. You know, it was not a problem at all. It's not like he ate all their food.
Right.
But if it had been on the talk, it'd have been like he ate every one of their French fries, you know.
Boy.
That's my favorite
Julie
show, by the way.
Chinma tore me
I
up.
just love them. They're great. But you know what I'm saying.
Take care of that. And kids, if there are any students that are watching this, try to be a friend on campus. Try to be that welcome wagon. Try to help be the face of that school. We've all been the new kid in some situation, all of us. And if you take a moment and think about it, you remember what that felt like, and it wasn't good. And there are going to be plenty of situations where your kids are not going to feel good on campus or in other environments that they have no control over. But you know what? This is one we do have control over. So, you know, let's pay that one forward. Let's step in, have a friendly face, give that kid a new kid a smile, let them know that they're in a place where they can be comfortable and they can be relaxed. Okay, because learning happens where kids are comfortable and secure and cared for. That's when people can learn.
That's right.
Kids cannot learn if they're stressed, if they're uncertain, if they're fearful. It's
Look, the same
it's
with
impossible.
adults.
Yeah.
You're more productive when you're happy in your environment and you feel safe and secure and you think, you know, people are listening to you and your
Right.
ideas. You're more productive.
Yeah.
Just like kids. They're the same way.
Okay, that's it. Didn't want to get off too deep into the weeds on this thing. So we appreciate your time, appreciate your support. Please like and share and talk about this and send this to people that you know. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.